The number of people coming to live and work in Canada is increasing dramatically, and the nature of how they're coming here is changing. By 2025, Canada will welcome 500,000 new immigrants a year. That's double the number from a decade ago. And last year, more people came here as temporary foreign workers than as immigrants. Joining us with a closer look at this trend is Christopher Warswick. He's a professor of economics at Carleton University. Christopher, good morning.
Good morning.
What is behind the increase in non-permanent residents being admitted to Canada?
My reading of it is the increase is mainly driven by an increase in the number of international students, primarily going to universities, but also community colleges. So a lot of the growth seems to be at the community college level. Also, there's been a relaxation of the restrictions related to temporary foreign workers. And so some of the temporary migrants, temporary residents coming to Canada are coming through different temporary foreign worker programs.
Let's take a closer look at that. The number of temporary foreign workers approved in the low-income stream in the first quarter of this year rose by more than 500% compared to 2018. What kind of shift does that represent in the way that Canada is using immigration to fill some of the gaps in our economy?
Well, it's a very large increase, and I think it's something that previous federal government, have tried, and there's been concern. A lot of academics have pushed back against it, and other people in the public sphere. One of the reasons why I do research is to look into these types of questions, and there seems to be an increasing emphasis on the idea that there's these labor shortages at the lower skill part of our labor force, and the current federal government seems to be really committed to filling these so-called labor shortages. But I think it would be a better policy to let wages rise when we see these labor shortages, when there's more jobs than there are workers in Canada willing to take those jobs on. And then I think it'd be better to focus on skilled temporary foreign workers, and especially skilled immigrants.
Temporary foreign workers are already vulnerable because their stay in this country is directly linked to their employment status. What does the increase in the temporary foreign workers mean for our economy?
Well, I think it can be good for the temporary foreign workers themselves, although they often, as you say, are in a precarious situation, especially if one of their goals is to try to become permanent residents in the future. They may put up with, kind of unacceptable working condition. But I think there's two other effects on the Canadian economy. One is when you bring in a large number of workers who can only work in low-skilled jobs, we tend to pull down the average skill level of the workforce, and that's not good for, collecting enough taxes to pay for government programs and our social safety net. But it also affects income inequality within the country. Like our low-wage workers who are traditionally doing these types of jobs are now facing more competition. They're less likely to see wage increases.
Canada has long relied on immigration for economic and population growth, but then what needs to happen to better empower the workforce that we're bringing in?
Well, I think we should be focusing on relatively high-skilled immigrants in our immigration or permanent migration program. I think and we've been doing that for a long time. I think we've become better at it in the last 10, 15 years, but the current federal government's really, and to be fair, the provincial governments are really pushing for very high levels of immigration. And, I think the system works best when we focus on people who are likely to arrive in Canada, find jobs quickly, have high salaries, and be able to support themselves, and contribute to our public finance system to support our social programs.
Christopher, thanks for being with us this morning.
My pleasure.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.